And it is Friday, which means it is time for our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders, just named by the Nation magazine as America's most valuable progressive for championing Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, defending the Postal Service against privatization threats, and opposing media consolidation schemes. It's great to have you with us. And so what's going on there?
Well, there is a lot that's going on. So let me just tick it off, and then we'll take some questions in a few minutes. Sure. Obviously, people are watching the whole debate over the fiscal cliff as we speak. The president, Harry Reid, Mitch McConnell, John Boehner will be getting together at the White House. No one really has a sense of, to be honest with you, what is going to happen. But I think at the heart of this issue is not just a financial debate, but a major political debate. And that is, in my view, Tom, it just seems very, very clear to me that right-wing extremist Republicans are in charge of the House of Representatives, and their views are way, way, way out of touch with what the vast majority of the American people believe. Yet they control one of the branches of government, and the choice, therefore, that we face, that the president faces and those of us in the Senate face, is do you compromise significantly with people who are way out of touch with the American people, or do you make it very clear what they are trying to do and demand that the American people get actively involved in this debate to force the Republicans in the House to start listening to what the American people want? Let me just give you a few examples. A poll came out recently, very consistent with every other poll that I have seen. This is Washington Post, ABC, last week. 72% of the American people said, yes, people making $250,000 a year or more should pay more in taxes. That's what the American people believe, because they understand that the wealthiest folks in this country are doing phenomenally well, and yet their effective tax rate, remember Mitt Romney not releasing his tax returns for that reason, their effective tax rates are very, very low. 1 out of 4 major profitable corporations not paying a nickel in federal income tax. So the American people are very clear about that. Our Republican friends in the House are saying, no, we don't care if somebody is worth $100 million, $1 billion. We do not want them to pay a nickel more in taxes. What we right-wing Republicans want is to move to a deficit reduction on the backs of the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor. What they want to do is cut Social Security, although Social Security has nothing to do with the deficit. They want to cut Medicare or raise the retirement age, the eligibility age to 67, make devastating cuts in Medicaid, cut back on education. That's where they are at. And the American people, in that very same poll, 60%, including many, many Republicans, said, do not cut Social Security, don't cut Medicare, don't cut Medicaid. So we have this really strange moment where a branch of government is controlled by folks who are way out of touch with the American people. And I think the president has got to be very, very strong on this. And I think if he is, if Democrats remain strong, we can win that issue. Second issue, when we talk about the economy, it is not just the deficit. Deficit is an important issue. I worry very much that the media gets bored very quickly, changes subjects very quickly. They are forgetting that 23 million Americans are unemployed or underemployed. We remain in a severe, severe recession for many workers who are employed. Their wages are going down. People are working longer hours for low wages. Their kids are leaving college deeply in debt or can't afford to go to college. Their homes are underwater. So the working class of this country is, in fact, being decimated. Middle class is disappearing. You can't forget about that. Yes, we have to pay attention to deficit reduction, but you cannot ignore the reality that we need to create millions and millions of decent-paying jobs by rebuilding our infrastructure and transforming our energy system. Other issue, obviously, that's out there. Everybody's heart was broken. Could not believe what happened a couple of weeks ago in Newtown, Connecticut. It is just a nightmare. It's a parent's worst fear. And it's an issue that we have to deal with. We have seen too much of this mass violence, mass killings. But it is, and I support and I voted for a ban on assault weapons. That's not the issue. That's part of the issue. But we got to go beyond that. We have to understand that today there are millions and millions of Americans who already own these Bushmasters, these AK-15 weapons. We have got to deal with the issue of mental health. I can tell you, Tom, that in the state of Vermont, I get many calls from parents or siblings who are saying, you know what, there is somebody in my family. I'm really worried about him. I'm worried about her. I'm worried about what he or she might do to himself or do to other people. And yet I cannot find the mental health counseling that we need. So that's a very serious issue. And the third part of this thing is we are just a country where the media, where these video games are just perpetrating gratuitous violence for our kids, which is just not acceptable. And I think the media is going to have to take some responsibility for that as well. Now, some of the other issues we're dealing with are, I just came from a meeting dealing with filibuster reform. I think many Americans understand that one of the reasons that very little is being accomplished in the Senate is the Republicans time after time after time are demanding 60 votes and killing legislation, not debating it, not having an up or down vote, but just filibustering it to death without having to even get on the floor and speak. So we are working hard to try to bring about a situation where on January 3rd, when the new Senate is sworn in, that we can at that moment, with 51 votes, change the rules, make sure the minority has all the protection they need to express their point of view. But we cannot allow a minority to run the United States government. A majority is supposed to rule in a democracy. That doesn't exist right now. Two other issues that I want to briefly touch on. One is, again, the issue of media consolidation. We've talked about it a whole lot. I want people to understand that right now the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, is looking at very bad rules which will allow within the largest 20 markets, media markets in this country, one company to own 2 television stations, 8 radio stations, and the largest newspaper in that area. I think that is a dangerous trend for democracy. It ends the diversity of opinion that we need. We have too much media consolidation now. That would make a bad situation worse. Last point that I want to make. I will be, in January, the new chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee. And the VA is a huge institution. It's a $140 billion a year budget. We have some 8 million veterans enrolled in the healthcare system alone. Millions of others are getting various types of benefits. And I would love to hear from folks out there who are veterans, who have thoughts about how we can improve the VA, how we make it more responsive to veterans, how we improve what is a pretty good healthcare system now. But how do we make it better? So I'd love to hear from veterans on that issue.
That's quite an extraordinary list. As and by the way, if the president makes a speech, we're monitoring this. We'll give you a shout and let you know what's said if anything comes out of this meeting that's happening right now. We will be back with more of Senator Bernie Sanders. It's our Brunch with Bernie Hour, our national town hall meeting where Senator Sanders will be taking your questions right after this, 15 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And be sure to check out Bernie's website. It is just spectacular. Sanders.senate.gov, a great news resource, a great newsletter you can sign up for there. And welcome back. Jim in Warminster, Pennsylvania, watching us on Free Speech TV. Hey, Jim, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Thank you very much. Bernie, I have a question concerning what's your sense in terms of CPI and where is that going to shake out in the negotiations? I just start to receive Social Security And June, I've been aware of COLAs for years, and I think even the way they're factored in now just does not keep up with inflation. Can you give us any idea of what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, thanks very much, Jim. Excellent question. What Jim is talking about is how we formulate COLAs, cost of living adjustments, for seniors and for disabled vets and for other people. What's the formula? What Jim is arguing, and I agree with him, is that especially for seniors, when seniors go out and spend their money, they are spending it in a very different way than people who are 18 years of age or 25 years of age. Seniors spend a lot of their income on prescription drugs, on health care, on staying warm, on food, pretty basic necessities. By and large, they're not buying flat screen TVs or computers. Some are, but most aren't. If you look at those areas where seniors spend their money, primarily health care, what you are seeing is the cost of prescription drugs, the cost of health care is going up faster than general inflation. Therefore, I believe, and many of us in Congress believe, we need a separate formulation for seniors to actually address what their inflationary costs are, which we believe in most instances is going to be higher than general inflation. That's what I believe. Now, and introduce legislation to that effect. On the other hand, what Republicans believe, what Simpson Bowles believes, what Wall Street believes, is that in fact they want to move the formula to what is called a chained CPI. Won't go into it at great length now, but bottom line is it will substantially cut COLAs for seniors and disabled veterans. So if you are 65 years of age today, by the time you're 75, if this chained CPI goes into effect, and that's what the Republicans are pushing, and I fear very much that the president is listening to them. We've got to defeat this. It will mean, if you're 65 today, by the time you're 75, about $600 a year less when you're 75 than under the current formula. By the time you're 85, it'll be over $1,000. That's a lot of money for a senior living on $16,000 a year. So we are doing everything that we can, I and others, trying to beat back this chained CPI, which would in essence be a cut in Social Security and a cut in benefits for disabled vets. It's just not the way you should go forward in terms of deficit reduction.
And so far, no clear insight into which way the president's going to go on this.
Well, I worry. I worry that we are hearing from the White House a willingness to look at this issue. They may exempt this or that group. They may protect the poorest of the poor. But I worry very much that the president may go along with that. And we're doing everything we can to try to stop that.
Yeah, we've been encouraging people here to call the White House comment line, too, and pass that
Please
along.
do.
Yeah. We'll be right back with Senator Bernie Sanders in our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie. 20 minutes past the hour.
Time keeps on slipping into the future.
20 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. And Archie in Yucca Valley, California, watching on Free Speech TV. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Why aren't the Democrats and you guys in these negotiations, not you, I know you talk about it, but talking about capital gains and earnings on that philosophy that a dollar earned, no matter how it's earned, should be taxed? And Ronald Reagan tried something 25, when he tried a 25%, working people's tax and rich people's tax. Explain it to me, please. Make noise.
Well, the answer is I agree with you. What Archie is saying is that right now, if you're out as a police officer, as a nurse, as a construction worker, as a teacher, you pay taxes on all of your income. On the other hand, if you are earning a lot of dividends through stock ownership or capital gains processes, you are going to be paying a lower percentage in taxes. And I can't argue with Archie. I agree with that. Now, I think when they talk about revenue, what they're talking about, Archie, and the president has talked about this, not as far as you would want or as I would want, but he has talked about it. It's not just asking that the top income tax rate go up from 35 to 39.6. He is also talking about raising the rate for dividends and I believe capital gains as well.
Okay. Gray in Nevada City, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi there, Senator Sanders. Good to hear your voice, sir. I was hoping that this upcoming session that you could introduce a replica of the legislation introduced by Marcy Kaptur in the House to bring back the Civilian Conservation Corps. This recession has hurt everybody, but seems to have hurt the young particularly bad. And this isn't something new, something unknown. This is part of the American tradition. And one of the first projects I've told people, even before the shooting, we could do would be to build new mental health facilities in this country.
Well, Marcy Kaptur, by the way, is a wonderful congresswoman from the state of Ohio, and is somebody I worked with very closely when I was in the House. I think the idea that Marcy is talking about makes a lot of sense. And there are various ways that you can do it. But the bottom line here is we have 23 million people unemployed or underemployed. That percentage-wise, the number of unemployed young people is significantly higher than the national average. You got a lot of young people out there struggling desperately with high student loans, college loans. Can we develop an approach which puts people to work in a variety of ways in education, in rebuilding our infrastructure, in transforming our energy system? So the answer is yes. I believe in that very, very strongly. Whether it takes the form of an old CCC in the 1930s or a different form, I don't know. But bottom line is there is an enormous amount of work that needs to be done in this country. You raise mental health. God knows we need a huge increase in the number of people who are able to provide mental health in this country. We need more teachers. We need to rebuild our crumbling roads and bridges, and rail system needs a major expansion. So there is a whole lot of work to be done, and we have to develop the jobs programs to do that. The concept of the CCC is an intriguing one, and I think it's something that can be part of the entire approach.
Kathleen in Peterborough, New Hampshire, watching on our website at thomhartmann.com. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, good afternoon. Why do so many in Congress want to take, from the working and lower middle class, our money, e.g. the CPI change they want, the Medicare, Medicaid cuts, our money from our earnings and benefits that we get in Social Security and Medicare, but those same Congress people want to keep giving entitlements like the Bush tax cuts and other write-off benefits to the top 1% and 2%.
Well, Kathleen, you've asked, I guess, the $64 question, although I think, Tom, we don't use the word $64 anymore, but
I think it's become 64,000 or 64 million.
But that is the question. And Kathleen, look, let me tell you what, I think most members of Congress don't tell you. You have, certainly within the Republican Party, a belief that their main job in the Congress is to represent the wealthy and the largest corporations. And at the end of the day, if you really kind of drill into what they are saying is we want to make the rich even richer. We want to make large corporations pay even less in taxes, lower their tax rates. We want to expand unfettered free trade so we can move all over the world, pay people pennies an hour and throw American workers out on the street. We want the opportunity to stash our profits or our savings in the Cayman Islands and other tax havens. because we are the rich and the powerful. And we have the right to rule. We have the right to do anything we want, and to heck with anybody else. So that is essentially what the struggle is about. You have a party that now controls the House, right-wing Republicans, who do not want to ask billionaires to pay a nickel more in taxes. In fact, want to continue to lower taxes for the people who are doing phenomenally well. But they're very, very worried about the deficit. And the way they want to do it, as Kathleen indicated, is to attack the programs of people who are struggling to stay alive economically in these very difficult times. So in a sense, what you're really talking about, Kathleen, is class warfare. Are people who are waging war against the working class and the middle class of this country.
27 minutes past the hour, we're talking with Senator Bernie Sanders. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, our national town hall meeting here on the Thom Hartmann Program, where you can ask a question of Senator Sanders and get an answer. It is an extraordinary time in American history, and we're so grateful that Senator Sanders comes here and does this. We'll be right back with more.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. It's a great news source, a great news site, as well as a great newsletter that he has that you can sign up for. It is our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. You're still there, Senator?
I'm right here.
Okay. Wayne, listening to WCPT in Chicago, Illinois. You have a question for Senator Sanders.
Yes. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I would just like to say to the senator, sir, would you please run for president the next presidential election? Because we need people like you, just like a person in the middle of the Sahara Desert needs water. So if there are no African-American males in Vermont, there will be one if you run, because I will be there to help you.
Wayne, thank you very much.
What I would like to say is, why are the Democrats not concentrating on things like the military budget? The military budget is over $1 trillion. They can't even bring auditors in to audit the military because there's so much waste, fraud, and abuse. Why is the president trying to take the easy way out instead of doing the hard work? He wants to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, but why not go after people like the Department of Defense who are wasting so much money, hundreds of billions of dollars that could be cut? Why not pinpoint the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid, in Medicare, and stop doing what the Republicans want? Because ever since Social Security came into existence, the Republicans have wanted to destroy it. So he wants to open the door for them to destroy it. So I'll listen to my ass off the air. Thank you very much.
Okay, Wayne, thank you very, very much for your comments. I agree with everything you said except one thing. The military budget is not now going to be $1 trillion. It'll be less than that. But it is a huge budget. And Wayne is quite right that if you were to go to the Secretary of Defense now and say, can you give me an audit? Do you really have a breakdown on how we're spending money? What they will say, it is so complicated, they almost don't have the computer technology to do that. And that is simply not acceptable. The second point I think that Wayne made, and we've been working on, is the enormous amount of waste and fraud within the Department of Defense. I did a study. I passed an amendment which brought forth a study, I believe it was from the General Accounting Office, to take a look at fraud within the Defense Department. And what we found is that virtually every major defense contractor, from Lockheed Martin to Boeing, to General Dynamics, all of these companies have at one point or another been convicted of fraud or reached a settlement with the government in which they paid a fine in lieu of being convicted of fraud. Furthermore, time and time again, you're seeing huge cost overruns for weapon systems. They say they're going to do the project for X billion, and it ends up being a whole lot more. So I have no doubt, and furthermore, right now, we are spending almost as much on defense as the rest of the world combined. So I think Wayne's point is well taken. I believe that we do need a strong defense, but there is something wrong when we have triple defense spending since 1997, and we can make judicious cuts, and certainly we've got to deal with this issue of waste and fraud.
Bernie, apropos of all those corporate felons, in about half the states of the United States, largely at the demand of Republican state legislators, people who have committed felonies can never again vote. Could we not, at the very least, say that corporations that commit felonies cannot get government contracts?
Well, let me tell you something, Tom. If you did that, you would not have a defense system. There would be no products being made for the Defense Department because virtually all of them.
And you'd have no banks.
Yeah. And the issue is, you have a huge corporation like Lockheed Martin. To what degree are some of these things mistakes? Are low-level people doing it? We don't know. Yeah. But virtually every single defense contractor has been involved in fraud or reached a settlement with the government in which they paid out money for misbehavior.
Remarkable. Carl in Lebanon, New Hampshire. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi. Thanks to the Senator for all of us. My question is, how can we get the Republicans off of this, the thought that reduction in taxes creates jobs? If that were true, the reduction from 90% to the current level would have created so many millions of jobs. We'd need every immigrant we could entice.
Carl,
how can we get them off of that?
Well, I'll tell you how you get them off of them. You defeat them. Look, as I mentioned earlier, I think it was Kathleen from New Hampshire asked the question. What goes on in Washington, and I suspect in many state governments as well, is you have, in this instance, a political party which represents the wealthy. That's all. Now, they can't do a 30-second ad which says, look, I got a huge campaign contribution from the rich, and that's why I'm fighting for lower taxes for the wealthy and large corporations. That wouldn't be a good 30-second ad. So what you do is you have these think tanks, whether it's the American Enterprise Institute or the Cato Institute or many others, come up with economic theories which just coincidentally, they're funded by corporations, and just an amazing coincidence, Tom, their conclusions always seem to benefit large corporations. But it gives you the myth that there's some intellectual foundation for what you're doing. So when you give tax breaks for the rich, it's not because they made huge campaign contributions to you. It's because ostensibly it's going to create jobs. And we have a whole theory called trickle-down economic theory. But I think, as Carl and others have pointed out, it doesn't work. If it worked, we would have had a booming economy under George W. Bush, when in fact we had one of the worst job creation situations, records, in the modern history of America. We actually lost private sector jobs. So it is a bogus theory, but it is funded by large corporations and the wealthy, and its function is to protect large corporations and the wealthy. And the way you deal with it is not convince these Republicans, you defeat them. You organize working families and the middle class, and you then demand that Democrats stand up and vigorously protect working families. You want to create jobs in America? It's not by giving tax breaks to billionaires. It's by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. It's by transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel into energy efficiency, wind, solar, geothermal. Manufacture those products in America. Change your trade policies so that large corporations can't move to China and pay people 50 cents an hour, $1 an hour, and bring their products back. We know what to do. But right now you have a Republican Party wedded to big money and too many Democrats who are not prepared to stand up to big money.
Deborah in Floyd, Virginia, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Hi, Bernie. I just want to say, we love you out here. You're one of the few out there that are really speaking up for the American people, and we really love you. I say I love you all the time on Facebook. I don't know how often you see what goes on Facebook, but I follow you there, and I just wonder, why is it we don't have more like you out there saying this stuff? And do your words fall on deaf ears? I mean, really, you're the only one that seems to be speaking out for us like this.
Well, thank you very much, Deborah, and I really do, I appreciate the support we're getting from folks all over this country. Do people hear what I say? Well, we just had an election in Vermont, and I got 71% of the vote, so I think people in Vermont are hearing the message. And there are a lot of good people in the House and the Senate. Somebody mentioned earlier in the show Marcy Kaptur, who is a congresswoman from Ohio. There are many, many others. There are strong progressives. The difficulty is, Deborah, sometimes, I do this show every Friday with Thom, and I've been doing it now for, Thom, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
And so we have the opportunity to take time and to talk to people, and I love it very much. And I love the work that Thom Hartmann does. Many other members of Congress who are saying similar things just don't get the opportunity to be heard all over this country. And many of those viewpoints don't get into the newspapers. They don't get onto CBS or NBC or ABC because, by and large, those media outlets are owned by large corporations, so not all that enthusiastic about hearing those points of view. But, Deborah, there are a number of people in Congress who are working really hard for working folks.
Does you were instrumental in putting together the Progressive Caucus when you were in the House, Bernie. We have just a little less than a minute. Is there not enough time to take a call? Is there a way that people can be supportive of the Progressive Caucus, in general?
Yeah, when I was in the House, when I was elected, we put it together. It is now one of the largest caucuses in the House of Representatives. Some great people in that caucus. And I'm sure some of them, Raul Grijalva has been on your show.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
I am sure, and many of your listeners have heard some of those folks. They have a website, and I think people can visit the website and start communicating with some of the members of the Progressive Caucus.
There you go. Okay. Thank you very much. Senator Bernie Sanders is on the line with us. He's taking your calls in our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back right after this with more of your calls for Bernie. Also, you can check out thomhartmann.com. Our new Thom Hartmann app has our daily blog on it and our list, our stack, all the links to the things we talk about. And welcome back. Jenny in American Falls, Idaho, watching Free Speech TV on Dish Network. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm probably one of 3 Democrats in Idaho, and so I'm pretty disillusioned with, the politics here. But I would like to ask the senator a question. I'm pretty disillusioned with my president that I voted for twice because he hasn't kept his promises about closing Guantanamo Bay, and because my disability check that is going up 1.7% in January will cost me $15 out of my pocket for milk and bread and gas, and I'm disabled. My governor here says that he doesn't like big government, but yet he allowed nuclear waste to be dumped here in Idaho for some reason from submarines. But my main problem is the drones. How is Congress allowing drones to kill people in Pakistan and Yemen when I don't think we've declared any kind of war there? And I just think it's obnoxious.
I think there are a lot of people in this country who think that drones have, in some instances, been absolutely counterproductive. When a drone misfires, or in fact ends up killing innocent people, women and children, that just creates an enormous amount of anti-Americanism. So I think it is an issue that a lot of people are talking about. I think there is a time and a place for drones to take out Al-Qaeda leaders, but I think we have had some very serious problems in terms of their use.
Russell in Lynx, Ohio, watching us on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, Senator Sanders, it's an honor to speak with you, sir. And my question is one that I've never heard discussed really. Why could we not do away with all taxes and simply enact a national sales tax? Would this not be the fair way to do things? What do you think about that?
I don't think, Russell, that it would be the fair way to do things, because what you're really saying is, you got a working mom out there who's making $25,000 a year. She goes out and she buys clothing for her kids, and she's going to pay taxes on that. She might pay taxes on food. She'll pay taxes on the things that she has to buy, and the end result, I think, of an approach like that, what some people refer to as a flat tax, is that it really lowers the tax burden for upper income people and it increases the tax burden for low and moderate income people. Obviously, it depends on how it is structured. But in general, I am not sympathetic to that. In general, I am sympathetic to a progressive tax, which says that the more money that you make, the higher the marginal tax rates should be. I think that's the fairest way to do taxes.
It's Senator Bernie Sanders with us, our Brunch with Bernie hour, our national town hall meeting with Senator Sanders. Back with more of your questions for Bernie right after this. And be sure and check out his website at sanders.senate.gov. It's 10 minutes before the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders with us, taking your calls. Stephen in Los Angeles, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes. I wanted to ask about the idea of means testing Social Security. It's something that seems to be coming from the right. Mitch Daniels had suggested it, and it's complex and subtle enough that it seems to be an issue that something that progressives might be able to support, and because it denies benefits for people with high incomes. Can you address that? How you feel about that and the complexity of that issue?
I can, Steve. And here's the problem with it. And you're right in saying that on the surface it sounds good. So you'll have Republicans saying is that, does Warren Buffett really need all of his Social Security benefits? Does Bill Gates really need all of his Medicare benefits? And people laugh and say these guys are worth billions of dollars. It doesn't matter to them. And you're right. But here is the problem, the long-term problem. You can today say, well, nobody who's making more than $1 million a year should receive A, B, and C, cut back on their benefits. Everyone says, what's the problem? But once you break the universality of a program, once you break the concept that we're all in it together, over a period of time, that $1 million threshold will become 500,000, and then 50,000. And then 20 years down the line, what you have is a welfare program rather than a strong Social Security program or a strong Medicare program. Now, my view is that the wealthy should, in general, pay more into the programs, not cut their benefits. So what you can do with Social Security, and we've introduced legislation to do that, is to lift the cap, which is now at about 113,000, or in a few days will be at 113,000. You lift that cap, and then it's starting at 250, going all the way up to millions. If you do that, you'll have substantially more revenue coming into the Social Security Trust Fund. That is the way I think you could solve the Social Security situation. And it makes a lot more sense than cutting benefits and ending the universality of that program.
Linda in Gillette, New Jersey. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi. I was just wondering about the president's powers. So he didn't seem to be able to do anything when there was a majority in the House at the middle of his first term. And I was wondering, now that seems to be the same kind of stuff is going to go on, what are the powers that he actually has at his command? How is it possible for him to cut through and implement by the force of his office any of these programs that people seem to be in majority?
Well, Linda, I mean, you've asked the question that people have written very big books about and will have disagreements about. The president cannot be, certainly the president through executive orders and other processes does have an enormous amount of power. I'll give you one example. What our Republican friends are going to do again is threaten not to lift the debt ceiling so that if it is not lifted, the United States of America, the most powerful and wealthiest nation on earth, will actually default and not pay out what it owes, which will have huge international implications. Some of us believe, in fact, that the president does not have to negotiate with right-wing Republicans on that he does have the power under the 14th Amendment to pay the bills that the country incurs. In terms of other problems in the Senate, that really is not the president's problem. That is the dysfunctionality of the Senate and the fact that we have Republicans who have demanded 60 votes and filibustered. So people say, well, a few years ago, Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House. Why didn't they do more? And the answer is the Republicans demanded 60 votes, and except for a very short period of time, we didn't have the 60 votes, and even then you had some outliers, some Democrats who chose not to go along. So your point is well taken. I think the president probably could exercise more of the inherent powers that he has. But here in the Senate right now, we have got to get our act together and make sure that a minority does not keep obstructing what the majority wants to do. But then you got in the House where the Republicans do control that place, and that brings forth a whole other set of problems.
Mm-hmm. Bernie, we have about 2 minutes before at the end of the hour here. I don't think quite enough to bring in another caller. I'm wondering your thoughts on the end of the year and the year ahead and where we're at, what we should be doing.
Well, here's what I think. I think the elections turned out not in everything that we wanted, but by and large better than most people thought they would. Democrats gained 2 seats in the Senate, which surprised a lot of folks. They gained, I think, 9 seats in the House. Obama won a pretty strong victory. I think what we need to do, and it gets back to the point that Linda just made a few moments ago, but it's not just the president. What we have got to do is demand that the Congress and the White House do what the American people want, and that the president and the Democrats in Congress just cannot continue to compromise with right-wing extremists. They are in a minority in terms of their beliefs. Very few people in this country, I doubt 20%, think that we should give more tax breaks to billionaires and cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and education. People do not believe that. That's what the Republicans in the House believe. And what we need is a real uprising on the part of the American people. We need them to be flooding their senators and their congresspeople's phone lines and get on the email, get on the internet, start emailing people. Let them know that you're watching them, that what they are saying, that it is not acceptable that they continue to represent the wealthy and the powerful at the expense of the middle class and working families of this country.
Bernie, thanks so much for all you do for all of us and for being on this program, and I wish you the very happiest new year.
And I to you.
Thank you, Bernie. Senator Sanders' website, by the way, sanders.senate.gov. Be sure and check it out.